What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Burnout Paradise Remastered on Black... Whoa. Hold your horses there, B-Tide. I clicked on the Crew 2 video. I do not want to see Burnout Paradise Remastered. Unsubscribed. Disliked. Reported. Whatever else you do on YouTube, I don't know. Unfortunately, the Crew 2 quote-unquote open beta ended a few days ago. Yeah, the last 3 days of the open beta are for pre-order bonuses only. So you had to pre-order the game, which I did not pre-order the game, and nor will I be recommending that you pre-order the game. You had to pre-order the game to get access to the last 3 days of the open beta. I don't know about you guys, but I thought open meant, available to everybody. I don't know. I don't want to get into the politics of video games and all of these pre-order bonuses. Why do you need to pre-order it? If you're going to pre-order it, if you know you're going to like it, why do you need to play in the beta? I thought the beta was kind of like a demo so that you could try it out to see if you like it, but I don't know. Getting into the video, we're talking about the Crew 2. The day I joined the beta was around 1 a.m. in the morning, 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do some of this Crew 2 stuff, and it's a good thing that I did, because supposedly, when I got off at 3:30, 3:45 that morning, they closed the beta at 4 a.m. So I took a couple hours worth of notes, and I was going to come back the following day for gameplay, and the beta was closed to the public at that point. But I got enough notes, I tried my hand at a bunch of different disciplines, I did a bunch of different motorsports, and I have a ton of notes here, and honestly I was going to compare the game heavily to Burnout Paradise Remastered, which I still hold that card in my hand, that Burnout Paradise Remastered is the definitive racing experience on PlayStation 4. And that's really sad to say because it's not even a PlayStation 4 game, it's a remaster. So I was going to compare a ton to Burnout Paradise in the first place, so we're going to show some Burnout Paradise gameplay, and we're going to just drive around, do some free drive. I've got a couple different events that I'm going into, races, stunt runs, and we're talking about the Crew 2 open beta. So right off the bat, when you open the beta, you get that little short video, the cinematic trailer, and oh man, it's awesome. Same as the original Crew, that cinematic trailer, I'll link the original Crew trailer in the description down below. That thing just it gave me goosebumps. Every single time I turned on the game, I had to wait for the menu to sit there long enough before it would play the video before I could play the game in the original Crew. The glitch mob with, it was just so good. It was so good. Warrior Concerto or whatever. I downloaded that song. I love that. And the trailer made the game look so amazing. Ivory Tower presents, and they show this badass trailer. Same thing with this game. They show this really cool Inception style trailer where they're driving through the city and the map is folding up on itself and there's planes flying in and there's all these different motorsports kind of intertwining, and I'm like, oh man, this looks awesome. And then you get into the game and it's nothing like that. There was one race right at the very beginning, almost like the tutorial, and they did do that Inception thing where you'd be driving and then all of a sudden you're going up a 90-degree turn and you turn into a plane or you turn into a boat and you're suddenly on some different part of the map and you're driving, and it was really cool. The tutorial for the game was like next level. I'm like, okay, I hope the game is like this, and then everything after that was just your standard racing game. Go here, press X to start the event, do the event, finish, go back to free drive, go find another event. And realistically, you weren't finding other events like in Burnout Paradise where you're driving around to each of them, because it's the whole map again. The Crew map is the entire map of the United States, and yes, you can free drive around that entire thing, but they open up like 4 events for you. You're a street racer. Here are your first 4 events. Those 4 events are on like opposite sides of the map. Like one is over here on the East Coast, one is over here on the West Coast. You're not going to drive all that way, so you just go open the map, you click on it, and you start the event because you're not realistically going to drive all the way over there. So opening theme was really cool, got me really pumped, but the game isn't like that at all. And in terms of the gameplay itself, it's far less realistic than the original. The original Crew tried to stay somewhat close to reality. This game is a lot more like Burnout Paradise. There are huge jumps, big stunts like you're seeing in the gameplay here, where you're falling hundreds of miles from the sky into the ground and you're still driving and you're still going, which makes it a really fun arcade racer experience. There's lots of stunts, lots of different things going on in the game, and this combined with the player choice in racing, where in the original Crew, it was like, no, you turn left where you turn left, you can't go any other way. In this one, it's like, it's a little bit more ambiguous. Like, you can go left, you can go right. You're still going to end up at the end of the race somehow. So they gave you that player choice like you have in Burnout Paradise. They kind of tell you, this is where you're supposed to go, find a way there. And I like that a lot. I like that player choice, that open-ended kind of racing experience. And that's what really right away made me think of Burnout Paradise when I was playing The Crew 2. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, where in Burnout Paradise, it's all about the crash, it's all about the epic wreck at the end of an awesome race, your vehicles in The Crew 2, with the exception of planes, are entirely invincible. You can drop a car because you can transform between vehicles. You can choose a plane, a land vehicle, and a boat, and the three of those you can choose a favorite and transform between them in free drive whenever you like. You can transform from a plane into a car and drop 10,000 feet out of the air, and you will land and keep driving. It won't do any damage to your vehicle. It is literally impossible to destroy your car unless you drive it into the water and you don't turn into a boat in time. So it takes away a lot of the risks. You don't need to worry about flying head on into another vehicle. You don't need to worry about hitting a guardrail, because you're just going to hit it and either go through it or come to a dead stop. But you'll be able to keep driving. You'll just have to reverse and drive away from it. And that's another thing, is there is no rhyme or reason as to what you can drive through and what you can't. So there are like little wooden fences for a garden in someone's backyard, and if you hit those, your car will just screeching halt from 300 miles per hour. You are dead stopped. You are not moving any farther. And then other times you're smashing through hydro poles and other things that are like really big trees or something, and you can smash through them. So there's no real rhyme or reason as to what you can hit and what you can't, and that made the game very difficult to figure out, to wrap my head around. I also found the game in just gameplay was extremely difficult. All of your races are based on your car's level, and we'll get into that in just a moment, but if you are under-leveled or if you are even just slightly over-leveled, all of the enemy vehicles are programmed to drive faster than you, and they all have onboard GPS. They know where they're going. They're taking perfect turns. Even if you are driving a perfect race, that doesn't guarantee you first place, because every enemy NPC vehicle, they are so well tuned into what they're doing. You basically need to find a really, really high level vehicle before you go into these races, or just drive around free drive until you get enough parts and stuff to make your car better, or you're not going to win any races. I found it very difficult, and it's a good thing that they don't really put a lot of emphasis on winning races anymore. It's not about coming first. Most of the races that you participate in, it's like, oh yeah, come in the top 3 and we'll let you pass and we'll give you the rewards or whatever. You do get better rewards for coming in first, but as long as you get in the top 3, you're good to go. You can continue on your way. I found the races in general and the story missions, stuff like that, that stuff was kind of lackluster, and I tried to stay away from that once I noticed that that was the issue, and I found that free drive is the best place to be. Just like in the original Crew, it's a lot more fun to just drive around with your friends in free drive, drive across the country, and especially with that new mechanic where you can transform between vehicles, it can lead to some pretty fun stuff. Like, I was just harassing enemy people. Well, not really enemies, they're just other people driving in the world. It's an open world, it's online, so you're going to see other people driving around, and I'm going to hell because I was harassing people like crazy. My favorite thing to do in the game, you turn into a plane, you fly until you find another person that's just driving their car on the ground, because when you're driving on the ground, you don't have that much field of view. You can't see above you when you're driving in a car. So you find someone driving on a car, you fly above them in your plane, and then you just transform into a boat in the middle of the sky and drop the boat like an anchor right in front of their car and watch them swerve. I mean, their car can't be destroyed. They can't smash off the road or anything. It would be better if it was like a Burnout style. Watch them smash into your boat in the middle of the road, in the middle of the freeway. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And they'll just swerve off the road and they'll smash and they'll ruin whatever they're doing. And I thought it was hilarious. It was the best part of the game, was just these comedic transformations of vehicles. Like I said, you have an airplane, you have a boat, and you have a land vehicle, and you pick a favorite of each, and you can transform whenever you want in free drive, like whenever you want. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like super quickly. I wanted to see like an actual transformation taking place, but it almost just goes into like a little loading screen when you do switch. It is pretty instantaneous, but it doesn't like, it's not like you're driving a car and all of a sudden it turns into a plane as you take off into the air. It's like your car disappears and there's nothing there for a second, and then the plane appears and then you take off. So take it as you will. I know it's going to be difficult for them to make it like super intuitive and super flowy from one vehicle to another, but I was expecting that, and that's not what I got. So it kind of let me down, but I did really enjoy just transforming between vehicles and just harassing people on the online free drive, and I think that's where you're going to find the most fun. In terms of the story, character models are absolute garbage. You're forced to choose a character right off the bat, and I couldn't tell who's a girl and who's a guy. I couldn't tell, like, their facial expressions are just absolute trash. We're talking PS2 graphics in terms of character selection. And there's a bunch of characters you can choose from, but there's no character customization. So this is your driver themselves, which you will see in cutscenes. You will see them behind the wheel of your vehicle, and you will see them in photo mode. So I thought, oh, character customization, or maybe a better character model. The character models in the crew, the original crew, because there were very specific people. I think you played as some guy named Alex or something like that. Your character actually looked a lot better in the original crew than he does in the crew 2. I don't know if that's just because it's the beta, but I mean, this game is pretty much set to come out any day. I think it comes out actually on Friday or something like that. So the character models are kind of trash, considering the characters in the crew, the original crew, were way better. So we're talking PS2 graphics in terms of cutscenes and cinematics. The first cinematic at the very beginning of the game, like the trailer, looks amazing. In terms of the cutscenes, where they're like, oh yeah, you gotta win this race, this is what's gonna happen, garbage. The mouth, like this, the audio sync is all off. Like I said, PS2 graphics at best. They really, really do not look good when you're seeing other characters. And they're weird, like, middle segments where you're walking between cars. Like, you walk through the HQ and you can pick your cars. And the controls and all of that are very strange there as well. Like, it's not a game that's meant to... You're not meant to be playing the game as a person. You're meant to be driving around at all times, and they really don't know how to get their first-person walking simulator thing down for the picking of your car. I found that there is no emphasis on winning, as I've already mentioned, because everything in this game is based on social media following. I guess they're trying to make it a little more realistic in that sense, in that in the real world now, social media is everything, and that's what the game is all about. You're trying to become the king of motorsports, so you can do whatever you want first. You can go ahead and you can join the pro racers, and you can really work on like the pro circuit and the touring vehicles, or you can join the street racers and you can try to gain reputation by being a street racer, or you can join the off-road racers. Like, there's 4 different categories that you can join, and from those 4 you can get a bunch of missions. You can join all 4 of them, you can join one of them, but I think eventually you're supposed to join all 4 and complete all the missions, and that gives you the king of motorsports. But everything is about social media, so you do stunts and you complete races, and that gives you followers, and the more followers you have, the more events that you have open up for you. So as you get followers, you rise through the ranks, you become like a pro, you become famous, you become whatever else. So instead of winning, as long as you're placing and you're doing really cool things with, even in free drive, if you're transforming from plane into a car and then you're doing this combo, fans are going to see that and they're going to start following you, and that's what the whole thing is about. But it's a far departure from the original. The original crew was a police gang-oriented game, right, where you were rising through the ranks of a gang undercover as an FBI agent, and you were trying to take down the head of this gang. There is no police presence in the crew 2. Unless it comes in and plays a part in some later story missions, even in free drive, I never saw a single police officer. And I was playing the game for around 3 or 4 hours, never saw a single cop, and that really worried me. The police presence in the first game was kind of trash, apart from a couple missions where you had to escape the police. You never really saw police, and even if you flew past the police on the highway going 300 miles per hour, they didn't even bat an eye. You could crash directly into a police car in the original, and they wouldn't even go after you. And in this game, it looks like they're completely getting away with that because there are no police officers. I never saw a single police vehicle anywhere. And I thought, man, with this new intuitive kind of way that you can transform between vehicles, the police pursuits would be really cool if they got it right. You're driving your car, you drive off a jump and you turn into a boat, and then the police boats come out and chase you. There's so much potential for that in this game, and it's wasted once again with no police presence. The mechanics of the game, we'll move into that next. The game itself is very, very colorful, very vivid. There's a lot of colors. It's really bright. It's really in your face, but it's flat. And the best way I could compare it, I know I can't show you gameplay of it because I didn't capture any, but it looks like Plasticine World. Like, everything looks like it's made out of Play-Doh. It's really flat and one-dimensional, but it's very bright and colorful. So there are some positives to that and some negatives to that. It's not like Burnout Paradise, where everything is kind of molded and smooth. Like Burnout Paradise, everything looks really shiny. In this, it looked like everything looked flat and made it a plasticine, but it was very bright and colorful. It's a much more lived-in world than the original. I found in the original there would be, you're driving all the way across America and you'd never see anything. You might see the odd animal out in the desert somewhere, or you might see like one person walking through Times Square. But in this game, it's a much more lived in world. You're going to see a lot of people. There's a lot of people walking on the streets. There's a lot of pedestrian vehicles. There are stores and storefronts that are open, and you can see people walking through the stores and stuff like that. And you see a lot of animals out in the wilderness. There's actually a lot of missions where you're supposed to go out and take photographs of the animals in the wilderness. That's like a thing that you can do to gain followers. There are brand buildings, like buildings you would recognize, and there are all kinds of, like I said, other people's cars and stuff. So it's a much more lived-in world. It feels a lot more populated than the original, which is great because it is the entire size of America or whatever, right? And it's a huge, huge map, and to see so many people and to see it so well populated, it's a little bit better than driving through desolate wastelands in the original game. And I have to say that the real-time map, I believe the first game, or one of the first games to bring this up, was Skyrim, where it actually has a real-time map, where if you zoom in on the map at any particular point, like if there's a dragon attacking, you might see that dragon actually attacking on the map. This game takes it to the next level, and I think the best element of this game in general was the map. The real-time map is absolutely gorgeous. You can unzoom all the way out and see the entire continent. You can zoom way down in to the point where you can see people, like you can zoom in, it's like Google Maps. You can see people walking down the side of the street. You can zoom in super close, and you don't even necessarily need to be in that area of the map. You can be on the East Coast, zoom into the West Coast, and you can see all the pedestrian vehicles driving around. You can see all the people, you can see all the scenery, you can see everything happening on the other side of the map in vivid, real color. It's unreal. The map itself was my favorite part. The second I opened this map, I was like, holy shit, this is completely different from the original, where you could only zoom in to maybe state level, and then at that point you had to pick like which area you wanted to go to. This, you can zoom in, you can see everything. It's like Google Maps on steroids, and it's exactly what I wanted from a map, where you can go all the way across America and you can see all of the detail. It's really, really cool, and I really enjoyed the map of all things. It was one of the things that I was like, who actually cares about this? But I cared. It looked amazing. It was the best part of the game, and I want to see a real-time map like this in almost every open world game. If I'm playing Fallout, I want to see a real-time map of this. Like when I play Fallout 76 this year, I want to see a real-time map. I want to see the other people, like other vault dwellers, walking around on the map on the other side. When I zoom in, I want to see that, and I want to see what they're doing. I want to see the creatures that they're shooting at. I want to see all of that on the map. This game did it right. This is the first game that I've ever seen with such an intuitive, real-time map. Now, this is where we get into some of the really, really, really shady stuff, because we're talking about mechanics. We mentioned some of the good stuff. Now, the original crew didn't have a whole ton of cars. There were a few different car dealerships, and then the whole idea of the original crew was to customize your car with different setups. You had a street setup, you had a perf setup, you had a raid setup, and you could change the attachments for your car and make it so that it could go in different environments, and that's how you had multiple cars. In the Crew 2, that's not a thing, because there are now multiple disciplines. You have motorcycles, you have planes, you have boats, you have cars, you have street cars. So the idea in this game is that there are tons and tons and tons of cars to choose from, like hundreds, if not thousands of vehicles. Even in the street vehicles, you can go to street, and you can go to this specific type of street vehicle, and you can scroll for 15 minutes and not go through all the vehicles. There are tons of vehicles in the game. You have to buy every single one. You get one free vehicle when you join the street people, when you join the professional racers, when you join the off-road racers. They'll give you one free vehicle, and then you're expected to buy the rest, which isn't a big thing. Like, okay, that's fine, I'll buy the rest. Unfortunately, I played for around 2-3 hours, I said 3 or 4 hours. In that 4 hours, I gained around $200,000. And that's from doing a lot of the story missions where you're getting a lot more currency for doing the story missions than you are just free drive. Free drive, you barely get any money. But if you're doing the story missions, you're winning races, you're getting rewarded with these in-game currencies, like these in-game dollars. I had around $200,000. Unfortunately, the average vehicle for like your Kia fucking Rondo, that thing is $200,000 in this game. Your very, very basic vehicles, your Toyota Corolla is $200,000, and then from there it moves up. The supercars are like in the millions and billions. Like they're so expensive, you'll never be able to buy them. I played for 4 hours and got enough money to buy the most basic vehicle, and that's it. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of vehicles in this game. Now, there are certain missions that you can play, and I did play one where after doing it, I was given a free vehicle, but for the most part, all of these vehicles you do have to buy. And of course, you can purchase another in-game currency. You get regular money that you can spend on cars, but you can also purchase an in-game currency, crew points, and those you can use to buy cars as well. And it's a little cheaper if you're using crew points, so you put in your real money and you're able to buy them. It's just like COD points and armory credits in Call of Duty World War II, except it's dollars and crew points. And basically you spend money, get the crew points, and then you can buy whatever cars you want. And there's no real limit on what you can buy. You can buy them in whatever order you want, which is cool. But if you're just playing the game and expecting to buy all of the cars, expecting to use all of the cars, that's not going to happen. And that's something that I love about the Burnout franchise. Coming back to Burnout Paradise, it has a comprehensive catalog of vehicles, and they're all available for free to the player. All you have to do to get all the vehicles in Burnout Paradise Remastered is play the game. You play the game, and as you're playing the game, you win races, you get vehicles. You level up your license, you get vehicles. You do a couple races, and there's a new vehicle driving around the city. You take that vehicle down, and you can now drive that vehicle. That's what I love about the Burnout franchise. That's not happening in the Crew 2. It's like, if you want this, you have to buy it. And that was a huge problem that I had with another Ubisoft property, Far Cry 5. No enemies carried any other gun except for the original assault rifle. If you wanted any of the other weapons, you bought them. Just get money and buy the weapons that you want. We're not going to drop the weapons that you want. You're never going to find them in the game. You must buy them if you want to use them. And I think that's a really, really stupid business practice. It doesn't really make me want to play the game anymore. Because what is the point of me doing all of these races? You're just going to give me money and I can, oh yeah, just go spend it on whatever you want. That's not fun to me. I'd rather unlock things. I'd rather earn things rather than earning currency and going to spend it. It's like Christmas, right? Would you rather have a gift card? Like, I know a gift card is great and you can spend it on whatever you want, but there's no thought involved. When you get a really cool present that you weren't expecting, that's what makes you feel good. You win a race, here's a free car. Look at this Maserati that you just won. Like, oh man, that's awesome. Or no, you get $100,000. You just put that in your bank because you're gonna need it. You're saving up to the millions and billions so you can buy that Maserati. It's just so shady, and I hate the way that they did that, and that immediately turned me off. This coupled with loot boxes and item rarities for car upgrades. I said we'd come back to it. Car upgrades are in this game. They were in the original as well. When you complete races, you can find little loot boxes out in the wild and drive through them, and they'll give you parts, and then you go into a menu and you click and you add on the new parts, and it puts up your number of your car, and then that increases your level so that you can compete in other races. Sucks. That was a huge problem with Need for Speed Payback, which just recently came out. Most people that reviewed that game said it was absolute utter dog shit. I never played it because I saw the reviews and I was like, yep, that's gonna suck. Basically, in that game, you have cards and card packs, just like in almost every other game ever made up until this point, where you get a card pack and then you get random parts and then you click those onto your car and it makes your car better. That does not excite car people. That does not excite gaming people. Card packs are the stupidest thing to ever happen to gaming, and it's basically loot boxes. You finish a race and it's like, oh, look at that loot, and you drive through it at the end of your race. Oh, that's blue loot. Like, the guy literally said this in the tutorial. When you drive through the first race, there's a blue ball or something that drops out of the sky and you drive through it, and he's like, oh, that's blue loot. That's even better than the green loot that we've been getting. I'm like, no. Like, that happened, and I was immediately turned off. I was immediately like, yep, I'm going to rip into this game in my little review of the Crew 2 open beta. So, loot boxes are there. Customizing your vehicle, you can customize your vehicle. Every single customization costs money. You can go back to your house and you can put on a new fender and you can put on a new spoiler and you can change the color. Every single one of those things is going to cost you money or crew points. So you can put in your own money and buy those things, or you can grind it out, and instead of buying one of those new impressive vehicles from the thousands of vehicles in this game, you can spend that money instead on the one vehicle you've been driving and make it look pretty. So really, it all comes down to the game is a grind, and it's no fun. Burnout Paradise, you can play and you can drive and you can have a great time, and it's all about just racing. And here's a new car, try it out, just take it for a spin, and you can use whatever cars you want. This game, The Crew 2, is not the same. It is a huge, huge grind. I felt like I was miserable for a lot of it, and unless I was in free drive and I was goofing around and pestering other people, I wasn't having a good time. The story missions were lackluster, and they were very difficult. Trying to race against these hardcore, like, I'm sitting here in my friggin' Mustang GT or whatever, which, yeah, it's a nice car, but I'm racing against a fucking Porsche 911, I'm racing against a Lambo, I'm racing against a Ferrari, and I'm like, how am I supposed to beat these vehicles? This is like the first race of the game, and you put me in this fucking shit vehicle, and you expect me to race against the supercars. That's not gonna happen. And that's how they expect you to play the game. And these guys are GPS, they know where they're going. But essentially, the game is a huge, huge grind. It's a grind to win races, it's a grind to get currency, it's a grind to get loot. It's a grind every step of the way, and I didn't even get a chance to experience this in multiplayer, but I expect that in multiplayer, it's all just thrown out the window anyways, because all anyone wants to do in the game is free drive. The amount of people I saw just driving around and just changing from a boat into a plane and flying, like, it was really cool, and I love the elements of the game. I love some of the mechanics, the map. There are certain things that made me go, oh my god, this has so much potential, and then they bog it all down with these currencies and grinding and the shitty level design and the cinematics. PlayStation 2 graphics, I shit you not, apart from that very first cinematic, which looked amazing. And like I said, that Inception kind of style, which I'll link the cinematic if I can find it. There's an Inception style where, like, all of the maps are compacting on themselves or folding up, and it was like, oh, this is so cool. Happened in the very first race, and then I never saw it ever again. So I don't know if it's only for certain special story missions, but that was something that I really enjoyed, where in an actual race, you would be transforming from a vehicle into another vehicle. It wasn't just in free drive anymore. It was actually in the story. So I'm expecting it to be in the story in other places, but it never came up again, and that kind of made me sad. But this video has gone on far, far longer than I ever expected. I kind of gone on a couple little tangents here because there were just things that made me so angry. I liked the original Crew. I thought it was ambitious to have such a huge map and to be able to go anywhere and do anything in this free drive. And then they kind of bogged it down with, again, really expensive vehicles that you could never purchase, and all kinds of nonsense happened in that game. They kept updating it and they changed it around so many times, and they made it impossible to play. You couldn't go back and play the story missions over again or something. They really, really took a dump on the original Crew, and I was expecting a fresh start. And with all these new mechanics, I was like, yes, this is going to be a great fresh start for the Crew. I'm so excited for this. And they took it all, and they just, I don't know. They had so much potential. They were prepared to make this game really, really cool, and not a lot of people were hyped about it, but I was hyped because I liked a lot of stuff from the original, and they almost took the stuff that was good in the original and threw that out as well. But they had a good opportunity here, and they failed. So unfortunately, there are a number of different editions of this game. There's a base edition and a gold edition and a deluxe edition, and they each have their own little unique loot pools, and there's a season pass, and there's all kinds of stuff in this game that's really oriented towards DLC, and this is one of the last games, I think, of the year that's going to be like this. Because as we've seen from E3, a lot of games are moving away from that. They're kind of getting into, yeah, no season pass, no loot boxes, we're getting away from that, and even Ubisoft games themselves, they are 100% getting rid of this kind of stuff. So I think this game was just too far in development for them to get rid of all of that kind of garbage marketing kind of crap that we've seen in video games and the stuff that we've seen lawsuits coming out against. This game was a little too far gone for them to fix that, but I hope for the Crew 3, if that ever becomes a thing, I doubt it because this game is not going to sell as much as they hope. If they ever make the Crew 3, it'll be a lot better because there are some really solid mechanics in here. I would recommend that you pick up this game when it goes on sale, when it's in the bargain bin a year from now, when it's on the Steam sale, when it's on sale at Walmart and you find it in the bin for $20. I think that's how I bought the original Crew, actually. Buy this game when it's $20. I would not spend any more than $19.99 on this game, and that's my final say. There are a bunch of different versions and a bunch of season pass and a bunch of loot, and oh, if you buy this version, you get this gold car. Who cares? Don't worry about it. The only fun thing in this game is the free drive and just goofing around with your friends. So it doesn't even necessarily matter what car you're driving at that point. You don't need to spend any extra money to get a special car. You don't need to spend any extra money on this game, period, because it's not a great game. If you're looking for a great racing game, a great racing experience on PlayStation 4, Burnout Paradise Remastered. Trust me, it's amazing. It's one of the best racing games of all time, and truly, it's the best racing game on PlayStation 4. And it's a PlayStation 3 game, so that's sad. But that's the world we're living in, unfortunately. I really wanted this game to be great, and it kind of let me down. So let me know what you think of the Crew 2. Did you play the open beta in the comment section down below? I apologize for making the video so long, but I just kind of got into some things. I had notes. I had pages of notes, and I really wish I had gameplay to match those notes, but unfortunately, they cut me off because only pre-order people get to play for the next 3 days until the game comes out, which... oh, that's so stupid too. Pre-order bonuses. Okay, that's enough for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys all on the next video.